What's up, Falcon fans? It is preseason month. We're going against the Miami Dolphins first week in August 11th in Hard Rock Stadium. If you guys like this type of content, hit that like button. If you guys hate this type of content, hit that dislike button. It won't hurt your boy's feelings. Well, maybe just a little bit. And if you also want to do a huge favor for your boy by hitting that subscribe button, help out with the Empire grow tremendously. So on that note, I have 3 key matchups I personally want to see happen for the Atlanta Falcons so we can figure out our strength and also we can adjust our weaknesses just in time before week 1 on September the 10th against the Carolina Panthers at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, because we definitely don't want to lose the first game of the season. It's just nada. So on that note, let's just dive into the video with number 3. Frank Darby is my pick at number 3 because he was drafted back in 2021 in the 6th round with the 187th pick overall out of Arizona State, and we loved his energy, we loved his passion for Atlanta, but unfortunately for the past 2 seasons, he's not been doing so hot, only caught 1 reception for each of those 2 seasons. Now, obviously, we're going to look back at the preseason to really give him a full detail of what he accomplished and what he didn't. Now, the good news is that he's looking pretty good in the offseason right now and at training camp, where we're seeing a lot of good highlight clips of him catching, up against corners. Now, obviously, he's not going against some too high safety type of coverage, nothing too crazy, but you know what? It's still a good sign that he's definitely improving on. So now let's dive back in 2021 and look at the 3 preseason games against Tennessee, Miami, and the Browns. For the first week in the preseason game against the Tennessee Titans, he was a no-show. I don't know if he even stepped on the field or not, because there's no stat-wise compared to the other Atlanta Falcons players. So I can't really say anything about that, and I haven't really watched the game to really remember if he was on the field. So on that note, let's continue with week 2 against the Miami Dolphins, and this time it fares a little bit differently. But not by a landslide, of course, because he was targeted twice, caught 2 receptions for a grand total of 27 yards, and his longest reception was 14. Not bad. 0 touchdowns. So, hey, it is what it is for a young bug for a 6th round pick. Not bad. So now let's talk about the Cleveland Browns in week 3. And this time, this is very interesting because he's the 3rd weapon for the Atlanta Falcons to get the most targets after, Antonio Nomu, I think how you say his name, and Jawan Green, with 6 and 5. So obviously, he was targeted 3 times, caught 2 receptions for 13 yards, 0 touchdown, but the longest was 8. So that's kind of stepping up his rookie game at that time. And let's also talk about Frank Darby's 22 preseason stats as well against the Lions, the Jets, and the Jaguars. And first against the Lions in week 1 of the preseason, he was targeted 3 times, caught 2 receptions for a grand total of 14 yards, but he was tied for targets because of Desmond Ridder. Getting that connection with Frank Darby is a great sign right out of the gate. That means that Desmond Ridder really trusts in Darby's ability to catch the ball. So against the Jets, it's a little bit different story because he got targeted twice, caught 0 reception for 0 yards for 0 touchdowns. Not a great game, but of course this was more opportunity for other wide receivers and tight ends and a lot of Falcon players to get more targets in this game, so that's why he kind of got smothered in that category. So when it comes to the Jaguars, that was Desmond Ridder's first taste of starting an NFL quarterback position. Obviously it was preseason, but it was still nice to see. He got 1 touchdown with 2 picks. I think one of those picks was towards Frank Darby. Don't quote me on that if I'm wrong, but I did like, he was targeted 3 times, caught 1 reception for the longest 35 yards. I thought that was a really good indication of the connection they were trying to go for during the season, if that's ever happened. Obviously, it didn't work out until the very end against the Buccaneers, where Frank Darby caught that nice, 4th down conversion that really helped us win the game. So there's some type of already chemistry with these 2 guys, and I love seeing that. So what I want to see out of Frank Darby in week 1 against the Miami Dolphins is his leadership role. I want him to be the main check down guy. If the quarterback play goes wrong, I want the quarterback to feel comfortable enough where they can throw him the ball anywhere he's at on the field and he will make the big plays. I want him to at least get 5 receptions, at least 20 to 50 yards, total, and at least attempt of a touchdown pass or drive or or whatever type of situation, I want him to be the target to try to catch the touchdown. I also want him to have a good start for the preseason, because if you have a great start, it gives you more of the opportunity to make the 53-man roster. If he starts out slow and maybe come back in week 2 or week 3, maybe, but it's a lot easier having a better chance if you start out hot and really feeling like you're the main boss on the field. So that's what I want to see in Frank Darby. So, number 2. What can we expect out of Trey Flowers? Now, obviously, there's been a huge update about the Jeff Okudah situation. Now, he got injured during training camp, and now he was carted off, and it seemed pretty bad in the beginning, but we got confirmation that it wasn't that serious, and he's going to come back earlier than later during the season. But even still, I would like to see how Trey Flowers becomes our second number 2 corner spot and see how he develops, because you know what? Injuries are going to happen during the season, and we need to know what our second and third corners can do when they're stepping onto the battlefield as a starter. So now let's talk about Trey Flowers' career. So there is good news that Trey Flowers has starting experience on the right side of the field on the cornerback position when he was drafted back in 2018 in the 5th round by the Seattle Seahawks. He played for them for 3 years, and then he played for the Cincinnati Bengals for 2 years. But when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals, he didn't get a lot of starting time. Mostly he was the backup role guy. So that's very interesting to know, because he got injured back in 2020. So obviously there's some things that we have to kind of understand here. So, I haven't watched a lot of games on Trey Flowers, so obviously I don't know, what type of coverage he's really good at, or how, what's his weakness, what's his strengths are. All I know, he does have experience, and that's pretty good for the Atlanta Falcons. So obviously, for what I want to see in the preseason, how he connects with our defensive coordinator, how he gels, mash up with the defensive side of the ball, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, because I have no idea how this guy works. I don't know what his takes are, all that cool palaver. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how he's gonna play in the preseason. So now, number 1. How well will Bijan Robertson perform in these 3 preseason games? Now, obviously, is it a big deal? Yes or no? Maybe not really, because at the end of the day, September the 10th against the Carolina Panthers in week 1 at, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is the most important thing in the world. But it's still nice to see what he can bring to the table in the month of August. Now, obviously, we want to see him, how he can gel with, Desmond Ridder, how he works well with the offensive line, seeing how his cuts will become, the agility, the reactions, when he's going to cut, and trying to find the holes. Obviously, we want to see, his strength, his ball carry, the handling of how he's going to handle the ball is very interesting. And the most important definitely is his IQ of the football, knowledge of where he needs to go down the field at all time is very, important, because this has been a very heavily scrutinized pick way back when he was drafted, with the 8th overall pick, because at that time, a lot of running backs didn't get so much of a high pick. No, obviously, a lot of people were saying he's a once-in-a-generation type of running back, so we have to see that if that's really accurate or if that's just overblown, hypothesis, conspiracy theories, or whatever you want to call that crazy palaver. But it's very interesting to see, because remember, 50% of people like this pick and 50% people hated this pick. So we're going to see how the Atlanta Falcons will get praised or scrutinized when it comes to this pick in the preseason. Now, obviously, like I said before, does it really matter to us or to the fans? Really not in long term. But I do want to take a little concern that I will be annoyed if for some reason, if people are going to bash the Atlanta Falcons in August. And I don't want to hear it for the whole month of August, okay? Because obviously the Atlanta Falcons get clowned on way too much, and it's really quite annoying for us Falcon fans to really go online and to enjoy Falcons content when someone just always have to do the 28-3 memes. It's pretty annoying. And then also, against the Tennessee Titans, when they did that schedule review and they showed that to the lady and she said Atlanta Stallions, that kind of pissed me off. I felt like, how dare you, make a mockery of this franchise who's been around since 1966. You know what I'm saying? And then for some reason, I don't know why the Atlanta Falcons thought it was a great idea to also do that. Maybe it's just me, but I just thought, why would you do that? Why would you treat your own history? I don't know. I don't want to go too much in detail because obviously I might be in the minority of our Falcon fans thinking that was just too much of disrespect. I don't know. But besides that, I'm excited to see what Bijan Robertson gonna bring to the Atlanta Falcons in the preseason. And so, on that note, if you guys lasted this long to the very end of the video, thank you so much for taking your own personal day and time watching these Falcon videos. I love making Falcon content for you guys. So if you guys want to watch more awesome Falcon videos, they're here right on the screen. So what do Falcons do? Rise up. Until the next episode, show love and peace to the world, and peace.